Today's something just a little bit different. We're going to talk about cleaning the mass airflow sensor. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to take this off here. This is the throttle body, because since it's a throttle by wire, we're going to clean the butterfly on both sides. First thing we need to do is loosen up this one here, and take this off, unsnap this, get that out of there. I have a K&N air filter. We'll probably go ahead and clean that since I have it all apart. We'll look at disconnecting this here first, and then later on taking this out and giving that a clean, the mass airflow sensor. And then we're going to go ahead and take this off. 10mm bolts, there's 4 of them. There's a little plug here. Give this a good clean. Alright, and you don't want to use just anything. Mass airflow sensor cleaner is actually a special spray. Make sure you get this stuff here. Carbon choke cleaner, this is the same thing. This will clean up everything that's in there. Jet spray. So I've loosened up this clamp here. This clamp here. It's nice and loose. Go ahead and take this off. Along with up here. Okay, let's give this a spray down and get all this old silicone preservative on here. I've got some Aerospace 303 I'd really like to use on this to help prevent from any heat, UV, anything like that. So we'll go ahead and get this off. The stuff I want to use will prevent all this, not to mention it's got quite a few years of buildup on it. And of course here's the intake here. We'll go ahead and give that a clean. We'll go ahead and pop this off and reveal the K&N. Again, I'm going to go ahead and, since I have it off, clean the K&N and then recoat it with oil overnight so I can reassemble this tomorrow. So we have that out of the way there. This is just kind of an inner, kind of a last ditch effort type filter. Here's the K&N here. It is pretty dirty, so it definitely doesn't hurt to go ahead and get that cleaned up. To get the mass airflow sensor itself off, there's a little tab on here. I've got some dielectric grease, as always, on that little portion there. So what I'm going to need to do is take all of this off. It's just a little dress-up cover here I have on the actual screw, just in case. Let's take that off, and we'll take this all off of here. So there again, we just moved this little clip back here, pull this straight out, and pull it out of the holder. Just kind of bend it down and out of the way. We already talked about disconnecting this. Again, we'll get some dielectric grease in there. It's attached there. I'm going to see if I can leave this in and just kind of fold this up, if that works. Down here there's a grommet, and I went ahead and took the bolt out along with the nut on the bottom, and then gave it a pull back. That pulled it off the throttle body itself, and we basically have this action here now. So let's see if we can't get this bent back. I'm going to need both hands. And here it doesn't look too bad. Okay, so but I am going to go ahead and clean that out. I can feel some resistance there along with this some crud. So I'll go ahead and I'll pull this off. I'll take it outside, and we'll go ahead and spray the carb cleaner, get this all cleaned up. I may have to use a brush, but that'll allow a nice factory seal in here, and hopefully that will make the even the fuel mileage a little bit better. So I have to take out, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4 10mm bolts, and these get torqued down to 7 foot-pounds. Now my torque wrench is kind of fussy. Once it gets under 15, it gets a little wonky. So what you do is you take your foot-pounds, multiply it by 12, and you can look this up yourself if you want to. That gives me 84 inch-pounds. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and torque these back down to after I put some Loctite and stuff on there. Also, since I have a supercharger, this isn't plastic, of course, this is aluminum, so it'll go back into there along with the Loctite. Together, I will take this hose here, give it a good clean, make sure that there's nothing built up on the inside to allow better airflow. So this will go outside with my pile. This is all the stuff out here that I'm going to clean. I've got the special cleaner degreaser I'm going to use. Give this a good clean. Then tomorrow I've got some 303 Aerospace UV protected. I'm going to put on these bits here. And of course I do have a recharge kit for the K&N. Let's go back inside. Alright, when you guys do this, these bolts here, 10mm, I would highly suggest not using an electric thing just to loosen them up. I would say crack them with an actual hand ratchet so you can get a good feel for what's going on. After you've done that, sure, electric ratchet's good to go ahead and take the rest out, save a little bit of time, but I cannot say enough. Just like when you're starting, don't just pop a bolt in here. and start cranking away, because you could cross thread it and not know it. Always start everything by hand, and I like to crack everything by hand also, just to get a feel for what's going on. And again, this will go in for 84 inch-pounds when I'm done. So for now I need to go ahead and take this off. Okay, you can see that already started to move, so that's not that big of a deal. You don't have to get in there with a pry bar or none of that stuff. Okay, there's an O-ring here, and I'm going to go ahead and put some silicone grease on this. It's in good shape. It actually feels pretty good. I'll make sure that this is clean. It is pretty clean, but I'll go ahead and make sure that's cleaned off. And like I said, I really need to take this outside. So I need to take, looks like this vacuum hose off here, and this one here. I'll pull these off. That way I can get this outside and give it a good clean. Yeah, that's pretty dirty there and stuff too. Using an old toothbrush and this gum out carb choke cleaner, I was able to get down in here, give this a nice clean, and get all the garbage out. I get it off the butterfly edges, and of course around the seal. And this will allow for, well, optimum fuel efficiency, performance, and everything else. Of course, before I put it back together, just a smidge of silicone grease on here to make this easier for next time if I go to take it off. And really, everything looks pretty darn clean now. And there's about 1 million types of silicone grease. This one here is clear, Denko. I've been using this one for quite a few years. CRC makes a good dielectric grease. And this is what I like to put back on the female side of the connector, so that when the pin's pushing in, this makes a good seat, a good coating on the inside. Just one of the many types of thread lock I like to use. And basically, you can see that's how this came out. There's no longer a buildup of a ring of any type of debris around the butterfly. It's nice and clean on this side too. And anyway, well, I'm letting this air dry some more to make sure any of the carbon choke cleaner that I actually sprayed this off with is dry. I'll go ahead and put a little of this on here and stuff too, just to ease it for next time. And that should pretty much do it for this. It's been about 15 years. I've only got 60,000 miles on my truck, but it's been quite a while that this has been sitting in there in the condition it was. So I've already put some silicone grease on the O-ring. Now we just need to go outside and clean up those items that I showed you with some degreaser cleaner I have. And I'm going to go ahead and take and degrease the K&N filter also, let that dry overnight, and then tomorrow I can go ahead and recoat it and get that installed in the truck. I don't need to take it anywhere tonight. If I do, I'll just take the sob. This is all cleaned out. I used an emery cloth and then went over everything again with carbon choke cleaner in case there was any micro stuff that got in here. That's all nice and clean. So this will be neat. You should be able to feel it. A little bit of a difference of it running smoother. So let's get this stuff outside all cleaned up. Anyway, so I know I'm beating a dead horse. Everybody knows what a K&N recharger is. Once you buy one, they're pretty much guaranteed for about 1 million miles. Here is the air filter cleaner. I'm going to spray this on, let it soak, hose it off, and then tomorrow, once it's perfectly dry, you spray the oil back in. Let it basically sit on, I like to let it sit on a couple paper towels, let anything seep through that might have been too much, and then it's ready to go back in. So K&Ns are awesome. So the 303, I like to spray it on, let it soak and let it dry. Gives it a chance to really seep into the plastics, rubber, vinyl, anything you want to use it on. Once it's dry, I'll go ahead and wipe the excess off, and then that'll be ready for install. And this will be protected against heat, any type of UVs, rot, stuff like that. So this is really, really good stuff. Again, you can find this on Amazon. Just type in 303 Aerospace Protecting. It's really good stuff. And it's a 303. Still soaking in, still drying. Again, once it's finished, I'll wipe off any chunky bits that are left on there, but it's really good stuff to go ahead and protect any plastics, rubber, vinyl. Mass airflow sensor held in by 2 of these screws, just a Phillips, nothing special. I'm using a medium size Phillips here. instead of a full size, and I took that right out, and then basically the mass airflow sensor just pulls right out. And just be careful, just pretend that you're playing that game Operation. You younger guys won't know what I'm talking about, but the older folks will. And just give this a good spray, especially that little needle sticking down. I even make sure I spray all up inside there with the mass airflow sensor cleaner, and then we'll go ahead and put it back in. Again, since you have this all apart, it's a good chance to go ahead and, I should say it's a good time to go ahead and clean everything up before you put it all back together. You can get any brand, just make sure it says mass airflow sensor, not circuit board cleaner, God forbid, man, not WD-40. You don't want any coatings left on the internal workings of this, otherwise you're going to be in a heap of trouble and get all kinds of engine lights. So that's what we're going to use. I'm just going to spray that in here and then let this dry, and then we'll put it back in. Okay, that's done. Just a quick spray. Again, anywhere I can get the spray, except for in here. I like the dielectric grease to be able to do its thing, but just give that a good clean. And then we'll go ahead and install it back with the Phillips screws. Again, the O-ring here, bit of silicone grease, that's on there. These are all cleaned up. I get the little clips out of the way. This has been cleaned off, it's nice and smooth. So I can go ahead and put the throttle body back on. Of course, I'll put the hoses on first. And I'll go ahead and put this back on. I'll get that torqued down. I'll go ahead and put this hose on here. And I can at least reassemble this portion here. The biggest part that has to dry overnight is the K&N air filter. So we can get this about 3/4 of the way put back together and get some of these plugs and stuff back on. And then tomorrow we can go ahead and throw the filter in. Hose is in place here. Well, it's flexible and I can move it around. This will, let's go ahead and take the pliers and get these little clips back on there. Gives a little bit of extra support. Again, I didn't know it, but this is radiator fluid to basically go ahead and preheat the actual air intake before it enters the rest of the system. Of course, for me, it goes through a pre-cooler that's water cooled for the supercharger, which makes it hot again, but it all works together. The computer knows what it's doing, so I'll go ahead and get those on while this is movable. And again, we'll go ahead and get the 4 bolts in here with some Loctite. The pinkish purpley color on the threads, that's the Loctite. Again, I've got the other 3 started. Let's go ahead and get this one started here. 7 foot-pounds isn't a whole lot, and I don't want to damage anything, especially aluminum aluminum threads inside of the inlet of the supercharger. So I'm just going to snug these by hand and immediately go to the torque wrench. I don't like to over torque stuff, so I hold the wrench just like this, so I can't get a lot of leverage on it. And I always use Loctite, so you don't have to worry about it. This one up here, for me, the nut is actually built into the top of my supercharger. And there was a vacuum hose back here. Got to make sure that that's put back into the intake portion here. So that's where I'm at. So let's go ahead and get some of this stuff snapped up. Again, we have our dielectric grease in here. And let's see here. Dielectric grease in here. Alright, let's go ahead and get this one in here. This isn't that strong. I may be able to, yes, squeeze it together. Just kind of put it back into the groove that it was in. And that's all in there. This is in. And as far as the excess goes, let's give that a wipe down. Again, this has the 303 on it. Okay, so mass airflow sensor. This is all hooked up here. You don't want to go too nuts on this. You'll kind of feel when it starts getting tight. You don't have to reef on it. As long as you have it tight and it doesn't move, you're getting a pretty darn good seal here. And at the same time, you get the O-ring on this side. So that's pretty much it for here. And again, tomorrow's the big one, just getting the K&N air filter back on there. Now the filter's nice and dry, we'll go ahead and put the oil back on for the K&N. That's one side. That's the second side. So the best thing you can do with the K&N is let it soak in, just walk away for about a half an hour or so. Let the gauze really get this stuff soaked in and let it even out, and then come back and you just kind of wipe off any excess that's around the lip. and then basically it's ready to go in. So with that in mind, it's time to go grab some coffee. Okay, so that's all back together. This little inertial separator here didn't come with mine. It came out, I think in 08, but I was able to buy it and put it on and stuff anyway. Basically spins the air and separates the sand from the air so it doesn't clog your filter. And then down here is a little rubber area that you basically just squeeze. It opens up and you can basically dump out any sand that's in there. Then of course you're not, like I said, compacting your air filter in here with sand and that type of stuff. This is pretty much standard when I was over in the Middle East. Even cars that have an intake on the front, there's an inertial separator that allows the sand to be deflected away and allows just the air in. It's kind of cool. I wish they had them on all vehicles, because we could sure use it over here even for bug season. That would be nice. So anyway, we're all back together. This was the last thing here. Just putting that in, and everything's all buttoned up. Just like we talked about yesterday, everything is all clean. We get the dielectric grease. That's a big one, guys. Anytime you do anything, if you open up a connector, get some dielectric grease in there, and you'll never have to worry about it in the future. So that's it. Of course, the 303 spray, it dries. That's what I like about it. It doesn't leave a film or none of that stuff, and it gives you all the protection you need to keep everything looking new. So that's it. Kind of a bummer about the PCV valve being on the other side, but that's okay. I have this coming up in about 40,000 miles where I need to take that off, resurface the oil that's in here. It's, my God, I think it's only like 2 ounces or something like that. But that all has to come off, and when it's off, then I'll go ahead and tackle the spark plugs. I'll probably even do new coils just because I'm in there. Get that sorted out, put the PCV valve in. But that's later on down the line. It's taken me 15 years to get 60,000 on it, so I have some time before I have to worry about that. That's it, guys. I'll go ahead and get this on there. Let me know what you think. Again, this is an easy one for anyone. It doesn't matter. Hell, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Just get that cleaned out, and your car is going to run smoother, better, and you're going to have the proper seal the way the manufacturer made it in that butterfly that's inside there. Okay, that's it. So we'll see you guys soon on another YouTube video in the future.